today, let's jump into something I find totally fascinating, and that's the world of bonsai. I'll be honest, for a long time I'd be walking through like a garden center, see those little trees, be like, okay, that's cute. But I kind of felt like they were missing the point of a tree.
Mhm.
But then getting ready for this deep dive, working with the spiritual philosophy of bonsai cultivation, I gotta say my mind is blown.
Yeah, it's definitely more than just gardening. It's like bonsai is capturing nature, the essence of nature, but in this miniature form.
Yeah.
And when you do that, it actually like really connects to how we experience the world around us.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the source keeps using the word miniature, but it doesn't diminish the art form at all.
Oh no, it makes it enhances it. Think about it like this: like bonsai isn't about shrinking something down; it's about focusing our attention like way in.
Right.
It's almost like when you use a magnifying glass and you see a leaf or a flower for the first time. You're not making it smaller.
Right.
You're actually enhancing the beauty of it by paying attention.
That's a really good way to put it. And speaking of paying attention, one of the things that really struck me going through this was the sheer patience that bonsai requires.
Mm.
This is not something you just do
Oh no.
like on a Tuesday afternoon.
It's the exact opposite of our fast-paced world, isn't it?
Totally.
Like bonsai, you cultivate it, it could take decades.
Wow.
Every trim, every bend of a branch, it's all about taking this like really slow, deliberate action.
Mhm.
And there's even a specific term for this, for working with the tree's natural growth, and it's called kenzan.
Kenzan, I like that word.
Yeah.
It implies some sort of like partnership with nature as opposed to trying to like impose your will on it.
Exactly. You're not forcing the tree to be something it's not.
Right.
You're observing it. You're observing its natural tendencies, and you're gently guiding it towards like a shared vision, yours and the trees.
Yeah.
So there's a real sense of balance and harmony in that approach.
For sure. And speaking of balance, there's this other concept that the source talks about that I find really fascinating, and that's this idea of wabi-sabi. Now, I've heard that term before, but I'll be honest, I never really fully grasped what it meant.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's deceptively simple, but once you get it and you start to apply it to your life, it's really impactful.
Okay.
And essentially, wabi-sabi is about finding beauty in imperfection.
Okay.
Those knots in the wood, the way a branch might grow in a weird direction, even scars from pruning. These aren't flaws to be hidden. They're all part of the tree's story. They're part of what makes it unique.
I like that. Because the source actually describes this one bonsai, and the trunk of it has this incredible, like, twist to it. It looks like it had been through a storm or something. And instead of trying to, like, straighten it out, the artist had actually incorporated that twist into the overall design, and it became this, like, striking focal point.
It's a perfect example of wabi-sabi. It's really about appreciating the beauty of impermanence, of things being perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, like, how often do we as people try to hide our imperfections, like our flaws and our quirks?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But imagine if we could like embrace those things, even celebrate them as part of what makes us unique.
Totally.
Like that's kind of radical.
It is.
And it's something that Bonsai like embodies in such a beautiful way.
It really does. It makes you think about how we see the world, how we see ourselves. There was also this whole other aspect of being a bonsai practitioner that really kind of got to me, this idea that you're not a master, you're a steward.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's very humbling when you think about it because bonsai trees can live for centuries.
Wow.
We're not just caring for a plant.
Right.
We're becoming part of a lineage.
Yeah, it's not about bending the tree to your will, it's about respecting its inherent nature.
Exactly. And the source uses this beautiful term, guiding its growth gently. It's like we're not forcing, we're sort of entering into this dance with the tree.
Yeah.
This delicate interplay between our vision and the tree's own innate wisdom.
Yeah, it really is like that old saying, you can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. But in this case, it's more like you can't control how the tree grows, but you can work with it, with its natural tendencies.
It's true. And that whole idea that we can't control everything, but we can choose how we respond to it, that applies to way more than just bonsai.
Absolutely. I mean, how many times have we both stressed over things that we ultimately have no control over?
Right. More times than I can count, probably.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about bonsai, you know, with this slow, deliberate growth. It's like it's asking us to zoom out, take the long view. And the source even compares it to like a form of meditation, finding stillness and presence in each like little act of care. What do you think?
Hmm.
Could you use a little bit of that bonsai mindset in your life?
Honestly, I think we all could. I mean, I know I get caught up in the whirlwind of like to-do lists and deadlines just like everybody else. But this whole idea that taking care of something as simple as a tree can be this like gateway to inner peace, that's powerful. It also makes me think about what we were talking about before with the patience, right?
Totally. This
That's
is not about like instant gratification. In fact, the source actually contrasts that. They talk about our like fast-paced modern world and then this slow, intentional practice of bonsai. It's like while we're looking for shortcuts and quick fixes, the bonsai practitioner is content to nurture something slowly over time.
it's like the journey is just as important as the destination thing,
Yeah.
which you don't really hear that much these days.
You don't. And it's kind of radical when you think about it in this culture of instant everything.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, the things that really matter, like deep relationships or your creative pursuits, personal growth, these things don't happen overnight, do they?
No. And honestly, it's like the things that I'm most proud of, the things that I get the most satisfaction from are the things that I've actually like really worked for.
Exactly.
Things I've had to nurture and cultivate over time.
And that's something I think we can really get from bonsai. It's not about rushing toward some sort of like finish line. It's about finding joy and meaning in the actual process of doing it.
Right.
Like, remember how the source was talking about how the bonsai practitioner will be so meticulous about how they prune a branch, carefully wiring a stem?
Yeah.
It's about taking those everyday little tasks, those acts of care, and making them almost meditative.
Yeah, it's like those little moments take on a much deeper meaning. You feel connected to something bigger,
Yeah.
which, it's pretty amazing when you think about it. We're talking about taking care of a tiny tree.
You know, it's funny. We started talking about these miniature trees, and now we're having these like big philosophical conversations.
That's the magic of bonsai, right?
Yeah.
But it makes me think, this whole idea of like finding meaning in the process, these small, deliberate actions. What if we could do that with like bigger things, not just our own lives?
Yeah, I like where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Like, what if we applied that to the bigger challenges? Things like, I don't know, environmental issues or political
Oh.
gridlock, even like global conflicts.
Yeah, because if you think about it, a lot of those problems come from this lack of patience, this real desire to have those immediate results.
Yeah.
Like not even wanting to accept that the situation is really complex.
Totally. We're trying to impose, like force our will on the world, just like if you're impatient and you're trying to bend that branch too quickly.
Right.
Like, we want the quick fix, we want it now, and if it doesn't happen that way, everyone gets discouraged.
Whereas with bonsai, it's almost like you're trying to understand the system.
Yeah.
You're respecting the natural processes and you're working with them to get where you want to go.
Exactly. It's about taking the long view, accepting that real change takes time. You have to nurture those things. And maybe it's about finding the beauty in the imperfections of that process.
Yeah, so it's almost like instead of getting so frustrated by the fact that things are moving slowly, it's about looking for those little victories along the way.
Yeah.
Like just seeing that your efforts are making some kind of a difference, even if it's just this tiny little shift in the right direction.
Yeah. Finding that balance, right, between action and acceptance. We're striving for this better future, but we have to appreciate the kind of messy beauty of right now.
Right.
It's like a bonsai, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Wow, who knew that we would find so much wisdom just from looking at these miniature trees?
I know. It just goes to show you there's always more to learn. There's always this deeper layer if we're just willing to slow down and pay attention.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this. What in your own life, or even in the world, could use a little bonsai thinking? Could you have a little more patience, appreciate the process a bit more, maybe just accept that imperfection is okay? Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and just maybe try looking at the world through the eyes of a bonsai master.